Welcome back to the BoshNRoll channel. Today I'm kind of playing Legacy, but it's not the Legacy that we know from today. We are playing a showcase challenge, not the Magic Online version, but the colloquial definitions of those words. Bryant Cook of the EpicStorm.com and the Epic Storm YouTube channel was tasked to feature the Epic Storm throughout the ages. And what that means is on his side, you'll see a series of videos featuring Epic Storm in its previous constructions over the last 15, almost 20 years that he has been playing the deck. But in order to feature those decks, he needs opponents, and that's where I come in. I will be playing the other sides of the matchup. That means today we are playing against Bryant's 2010 Grand Prix top 8 list of the Epic Storm. This looks very different than it does now. There is no Echo of Eons. There's no Veil of Summer, no Galvanic Relay, nothing like that. This is a much more all-in Storm deck. It's got Duress. There is 1 copy of Silence, 3 Orim's Chance, Rite of Flame still in here. This deck is trying to do something very powerful on turn 1 or 2, unlike the current builds that can grind a lot better. And this being a deck from 2010, I have chosen 5 decks from 2010 to play against him, all of them also appearing in the top 16 of this tournament. I'm not sure what order I'm going to play these in. I'm just going to present the decks for you. We've got 4-color Countertop. This was kind of the thinking Legacy players deck of the time. Counterbalance plus Sensei's Divining Top. This is the era right before Miracles were printed. We're actually, like a year and a half out from Miracles at this point. Delver of Secrets doesn't even exist yet. Like Innistrad block shook up Legacy a lot, giving us Delver, Snapcaster, Liliana, and then eventually at Avacyn Restored, we also got Grizzlebrand Terminus and Craterhoof Behemoth. Big changes coming, but in 2010, this was what the Tier 1 control deck looked like. The goal is to assemble Counterbalance and Sensei's Divining Top, and then win with whatever when your opponent can't really cast spells. Speaking of Avacyn Restored and Grizzlebrand, this is a sneak and show deck that made top 8 of that 2010 Grand Prix, featuring Woodfall Primus as the backup card, supplementing Emrakul the Aeon's Torn, which is actually brand new in 2010. That's when Rise of the Eldrazi came out. This is hot new tech, and it kind of made this deck viable. First real thing worth sneaking in a very long time. Otherwise, this should look pretty familiar. It's just Woodfall Primus is a lot worse than Grizzlebrand or Atraxa, but this deck largely intact. Dimir Merfolk, actually the deck that won this tournament, and also in the hands of Tomohiro Saito, who has a complicated legacy in Magic, having been banned from the game after getting inducted into the Pro Tour Hall of Fame, or after he got voted in, but before the induction ceremony, thus losing his induction, and complicated time. But back then, we liked Saito. We didn't know any better, and this is a deck he played. It's just Merfolk, mono blue in the main, Standstill, Aether Vial. You love to see it. And he has a black splash to kill all of the Tarmogoyfs and Goblins and things that are normally tough for this deck, which is interesting because the Epic Storm, one of its premier win cons, is Empty the Warrens in this era, so these Engineered Plagues might actually play. Then we've got Bug Landstill, which is actually the deck I played in this tournament. Not to any success. I'm sure my specific list is lost to time, but somebody did top 8. This was a viable deck at the time. Mishra's Factory, Wasteland, Life from the Loam, Standstill. This is just grind you into dust with my cards. Pernicious Deed, 4 of in the main. Very pre-modern sensibility and legacy back then. Things were simpler. Pernicious Deed, another way to clean up Empty the Warrens Goblins in this particular matchup. In general, though, this is not a deck I want to be playing versus the Epic Storm. And kind of the marquee deck of this era. This was the beginning of the end for Survival of the Fittest. Also brand new from Rise of the Eldrazi, the card Vengevine. Whenever you cast a spell, if it's your second creature spell this turn, you may return this card from the graveyard to the battlefield. Survival of the Fittest, people quickly realized you could just tutor all your Vengevines to the graveyard, then get 2 Root Wallows and they all come back. This could happen slowly over the early turns or all at once in the mid-game, and inside this Stifled Daze, Wasteland, Force of Will tempo deck. Keep your opponent off balance and then just hit them for 8 or 12 or 16 or whatever. If the creature's flying, who cares? Awesome deck, and this is when people started to realize that survival of the fittest might not be okay, and over the next year or two, it would become very not okay. That's my Whirlwind super fast 5-deck deck tech. I'm going to go play all these decks versus 2010 The Epic Storm in the hands of Bryant Cook. Let's do it. Round 1, I won the die roll, and we're going to alternate play draw throughout this series, so that means I'm on the play in the first, third, and fifth matches. We do know each other's decks. He knows that I'm playing Bug Landstill first. I'm going to mulligan this. All right. Ghastly Demise, Innocent Blood, not that great. Force blue card, I'll take it. This Cunning Wish package is really interesting. I did not play that in my build of Bug Landstill for the tournament, but being able to wish for a Mindbreak Trap is kind of effed up. And I'm a long way away from that, but we're here. I'm going to keep and get rid of, I guess, Innocent Blood. Opponent kept 7, don't love it. This is an Infernal Tutor deck, which is good for me because it's worse. All right, here's the duress. It could take the Force and try to go off before I have 3 mana to grab my Mindbreak Trap. Or could take the blue card to go with the Force. Okay, took the Force. Brainstorm into Ponder. Or from Mox pitching Brainstorm into Ponder. And there are no tech lands here, long before Surveil lands existed. I'm just going to draw a card. Pernicious Deed is maybe nice. It depends on if I can draw a black source. I mean, if I die to Tendrils, it doesn't matter. Right, another Ponder. The last one did not shuffle. Yeah, if I can draw another colored source, Pernicious Deed could sweep up goblins. Ooh, okay. This Cunning Wish. I'm actually getting excited now. Because if he doesn't know what I'm up to with this Wish package, that's a big deal. Look at this preponderance of colorless mana sources in my 3-color deck, by the way. We were just doing whatever back then. And Mindbreak Trap was actually pretty new here as well. That was in Zendikar, which was the first set of the block that gave us Rise of the Eldrazi. So Mindbreak Trap, pretty new to the scene, actually. All right, another factory. I'm going to waste this City of Brass. He's going to have to duress me or silence me to win. And the less mana available, the better. He's doing a lot of sculpting, though. It basically has infinite time. I mentioned in the deck text that this build of the Epic Storm isn't that grindy, the way that the current builds are. But the fact is still true that combo decks that are under 0 pressure can just get a perfect hand and figure it out. Lotus Petal, 1 spell. Oh no, I've been chanted. All right, well, that's probably game. Unless he goes Goblins and Pernicious Deed can get it done. Rite of Flame, LED, Infernal Tutor. All right, we're probably going to see an Ad Nauseam here. There it goes. It's hard to whiff this, especially with a land drop available. Yeah, 2 LEDs and a Tutor. Yeah, this is a clean Tendrils, and we don't have to keep doing that. Oh, it seems he challenged me to a best of 1. That dope. All right, we will get a sideboard game coming. Technical difficulties. We've regrouped in the sideboard now. Things that are good. Honestly, kind of my entire Wish package, which is a little awkward, but I'd rather just have 3 good cards in my deck than have to wish for them. Do I leave anything in the sideboard to wish for? Yeah, Sabo's Decree, probably not very good against the deck with 0 creatures in it. But I guess it can sweep up NP the Warrens, but you will notice that all of the decks I'm playing are good at sweeping up NP the Warrens, because that's actually important here. Innocent Blood, Ghastly Demise, all bad. What's he got over here? He's got some Pyroblasts, a second Tendrils, but that's going to be for wishing. That's not coming in. Yeah, this is just a wish board with some Pyroblasts. Okay. Forbid, Stifle, Mindbreak Trap coming in. Extirpate is not good, but it's probably better than Innocent Blood and Ghastly Demise. I think that's a safe bet. I'll take the Echoing Truth. It's blue and it sweeps up goblins. It can be annoying against Chrome Mox as well. And Past in Flames didn't exist yet here. That's another card that came out with Innistrad. There's Rite of Flames, the only thing using the graveyard. Okay, yeah, Ravenous Trap doesn't make any sense. I truly just only have 59 cards I want to have in my deck against this opponent. That's really funny. I guess I'll put in Crossing Grip. It might just kill a Chrome Mox or something. It's not pretty, but I have 6 cards that are completely blank here, and only 4.5 cards I actually want in my deck. Let's go. I'll keep this hand. Got a lot of action here. This is the type of hand where you force of will a duress, hide the info. I knew this matchup would be very bad for Bug Landstill, but I wanted to have a representative spread of decks of the era. I wasn't just trying to farm Bryant in his Epic Storm showcase. I'm going to force that pitching Counterspell. And Counterspell's good, but I don't have the second mana yet. Force plus Stifle and Mindbreak Trap are all things I could do. All right, well, now Counterspell seems foolish to pitch. It's okay. We'll live. Ponder. That's one spell. Didn't shuffle the Ponder. Wasteland. Okay. I could invest in Deed, or I could waste them. I'm going to Wasteland. Let's take out that Underground Sea. Make this mana hurt. I could even stifle a fetch land here to keep the mana denial going. Stifling a fetch land puts me in the spot, though, where I lose to Duress or Silence into combo, where that's not something I have to lose to. I could pitch the Stifle to Force over the protection piece and then have Mindbreak Trap up for the turn. Mindbreak Trap's kind of interesting because I think that my opponent's deck might be functionally different now than it was back then. Burning Wish had a rule change at some point where outside the game, okay, it definitely was before this. I think that happened in Shards of Alara. All right, well, that's big. So the rule change where what I'm trying to spit out here that I have not yet actually explained what I'm trying to say is remove from the game used to be the same thing as outside of the game, but then exile became a game zone, which was not always the case. Right, I'm going to force pitching this Cunning Wish because it no longer matters. So the reason that matters, the reason that rule change matters is that, oh, it looks like I'm going to lose a fight to Pyroblast here and then maybe lose the game. But the reason the rule change matters is you used to be able to Burning Wish for cards that had been exiled throughout the course of a game. Like if I Mindbreak Trap a Tendrils, he could Burning Wish for that Tendrils again. Or much more interestingly, Burning Wish exiles itself when it resolves and it is a sorcery. You used to be able to Burning Wish for Burning Wish for Burning Wish. Every 2 mana you had could just cycle 2 Burning Wishes back and forth and build Storm. But I don't think that rule change would have affected this. I think that was in like 2008, 2009 that changed. And this is actually kind of stinks because this particular turn right now, because I missed those land drops, like it's turn 5 and I've only played 3 lands. I just drew these 2 lands off Standstill. If I had one up for Stifle, the Mindbreak Trap plus Stifle would definitely beat this Duress. But I do have kind of triple coverage here, where if my opponent waits, then Stifle is online for the future. If he shoves, it has to be Tendrils because I can beat Goblins. Like I do have a bunch of lines covered here, but if I had 1 mana up, I would just feel completely safe. Well, opponent knows the coast is clear now. I am F6'd. We're off to the races. So that turn I wastelanded him actually may have cost me the game, as I could have just had Stifle up here, but also he could have missed a land drop and then not been able to do all this. Okay, Storm is 7. There's no Peer into the Abyss in this universe yet. Or are we going to get Diminishing Returned? Oh, yeah, we are. Okay. Each player shuffles their hand into the library, exile the top 10 cards of your library, then each player draws up to 7 cards. Off we go. A lot worse than Echo of Eons. I would like to draw all 7 cards. Yes, thanks for asking. 10 cards exiled. A Burning Wish is gone. 2 Dark Rituals. Pyroblast. I did pick up a Force on that exchange. Ooh, can't keep going. Love that for me. Okay, I think here I'm going to play Tropical Island with the plan of developing Jace. That Wasteland almost cost me the game, so I'm not gonna make that my job anymore. Wasteland, Jaceland. This might get Pyroblasted, but I accept. Brainstorm. Cool. Lots of good cards. I'm actually going to hide Pernicious Deed on top. Opponent's hitting land drops now. Time to turn the corner. I have so much going on here that I think it's safe for me to start Fate Sealing with Jace. Gemstone, mine, you can keep that. Right, chip it. I know I'm drawing a land next, which is actually fine in these sort of games. Right, he fetched away the Gemstone mine. I don't know that anymore. Yeah, the fetch land versus Jace subgame is always fun to play. Seal you again. Dark Ritual. I am not going to shuffle that away because my opponent has a fetch land, and this is part of the subgame as well. Sometimes it's right to even leave a good card on top when they have a fetch land to incentivize them to fetch. But I didn't wasteland. Look at this. Fate Seal you. Duress. I will put that on the bottom. That one matters. I think I can win games where my hand stays intact. Oh, Duress. That's the card I just put on the bottom. It's fine. I'll counter it. Where's your Mind Break Trap? We know Bryant loves playing Mind Break Trap, playing against it in all versions of the format. Man, how many of those do you have? I know the answer is 4, but it's still annoying. Counterspell. Counterspell. All right, Mind Break Trap is on now. Storm is 4, 6, 7, ad nauseum. I'm going to Force of Will this, pitching Brainstorm, because Mind Break Trap is the ultimate finishing move here. Cool. All right. I was definitely allowed to continue playing that game because of the old technology that diminishing returns so much worse than Echo. Spending 4 for that instead of 0 is pretty busted. Yeah, still no changes. This is the deck I have access to. All right, on the draw with Mind Break Trap, gotta keep. I don't expect this to just win the game by itself, but it is quite good. It's good enough to keep a hand on. I got lands and Brainstorm if I get a turn, and Mind Break Trap should help me get a turn. Ooh, a Standstill. I like that card. All right, want to play Draw Go with me? I will make your life difficult. My hand is so full right now, he might just immediately duress into this and then win. It's a little bit dicey, but if he plays Draw Go too long, I'm set up. Heck yeah. All right. Now you're under pressure. This matchup looked really bad on paper and felt really bad at the time, but I gotta say, actually playing these games, this may have been a well-constructed deck for the era with the Mind Break Trap and the ability to just have so many freaking cards. And being able to hit with Factory while holding up Counterspell, so nice. Yeah, I can force Counterspell, Brainstorm, and then still Mind Break Trap if I need to at the end of all that. I'm not going to play that Wasteland out, because now I can double Counterspell. And this is an ad nauseum build of the deck. There's no Beseech the Mirror, no other engines, all of which means that these points that I'm getting with Mishra's Factory matter. Okay, opponent is at 8 cards in hand. Gonna have to go to clean up here, discarding a Chrome Mox. That means that he's no longer sculpting his hand. He's out of land drops. Okay, that was clearly the draw for turn, because went to discard last turn. He's probably looking for Orm's Chant or a backup way to protect Orm's Chant, like a Pyroblast to back it up. And I'm just going to discard Loam to hand size here. Another Wasteland drawn for me. Any land is fine here. Just anything that makes it so I don't have to discard a card. I'm certainly not breaking my Standstill. I feel really good in this spot. There's 2 possibilities. It's that my opponent just does not have confidence that he can beat my 7-card hand and is trying to wait to the very last second to do so. Or his hand is already close to the Stone Nuts and he's just waiting to be at 2 to take the shot. But if you wait one more turn, you can't crack all these fetch lands anymore. This is the last turn he can use all of this mana. Are there even 5 fetchable lands in the deck? There's 2 Seas and a Valk. Okay, so these fetch lands are fake anyway. Only one of these actually gets anything. All right, well, after being worried, I actually now feel good about this game and this match in a way that was, pretty satisfying. Okay, Lotus Petal breaks the Standstill, and now we'll see what happens next. Mind Break Trap is on. Burning Wish. This could just make a bunch of goblins, which would actually be kind of annoying. I'm going to counterspell this. Yeah, I'm not actually ready to beat goblins. Or I could Cunning Wish for Sabos Decree. Like, that's actually good enough here. Another wish. Is Spell Pierce good here? And it would cost him a Lotus Petal. Did pass priority with no mana floating. Alright, I'm gonna let this Burning Wish go. There's just less mana to play with now. Got Thoughtseize. Alright, clever, clever. Fetching the last Underground Sea. I think I want to Spell Pierce this, make him spend the Lotus Petals, and then force it afterwards. Alright, I'm gonna fetch for just any old land here. Spell Pierce this. Because without Echo in the deck, Lion's Eye Diamond doesn't really do anything on its own. Right, what do we got here? Is this just nothing? One card left in hand? What could it even be? Infernal Tutor. That works. Except I am not going to give him the full rubbins. I'll force this and conceal the Mindbreak Trap. That was a lot of interaction. I really enjoyed that. On to the next one.
The NYSE Open is returning on June 6, 2026 to Long Island, New York. This proxy-friendly vintage tournament has the guaranteed prize pool of 8 pieces of Power 9 to be drafted by the top 8 based on final standings. Any additional profits made from the event will be added to the prize pool as on-site vendor credit. This tournament has been great the last 2 years. How often do you get to act sad about winning just a time walk? You know I'll be there. See you at the NYSE Open on June 6 on Long Island, New York. Use my link in the video description or find the New York Stacks Exchange on melee.gg.
I'm on the draw for round 2 with Countertop. This one's actually tricky because this hand is beautiful, but I am on the draw. I'm actually going to keep this on the strength of Fire Spout. Because if opponent just sends a bunch of goblins turn 1, then I might be able to clean that up. If they don't, all right, I'm going to develop top into Counterbalance here. I do want the top in play. And Counterbalance is particularly messed up versus Storm decks of the era because at 0, if you reveal a land, that's all their Lion's Eye Diamonds, Lotus Petals, and everything. At 1, that's all of their Disruption and Dark Rituals. At 2, that's all of their payoffs. The hooks are in. We'll see if this plan to keep a slow hand works out for him. If I untap with this top, we are cooking. All right. Officially cooking, and I've come up with a Force of Will now. Man, Legacy. What a beautiful thing. And I have the top activation, the spin. I have the top draw card, and I have Brainstorm that can all manipulate the top card of my deck right now. All right, look at my top 3. There is a Spell Snare there, which is extra insulting because that means I can also counter any tutor that he plays later in the turn by drawing a card with top. But I also know there's a 2 under the 1. What do you think, folks? Should we unban this? Nice. Okay. Meddling Mages coming in. I had to rent 5 decks from Card Hoarder today, so some of my arts are wrong. Apologies for that. When I'm doing a lot, I don't worry so much about it. All right, Pyroblast and Hydroblast. This is actually interesting because Pyroblast hits the cantrips in this deck, but there's no Echo of Eons or Song of Creation to fight over anymore. Hydroblast hits Rite of Flame and Burning Wish. All right, well, I don't need Swords to Plowshares. I don't think I need 4 Fire Spouts. This one was from the sideboard. Okay, I'll make coherent piles here. I want some Fire Spouts just so I don't get gobbled too hard on turn 1. I do have to win somehow, but I think I can play a little bit less of Tarmogoyf. 22 lands in the deck, and I don't actually need white mana for anything. Or no, I am bringing in Meddling Mages. I think I can play with 21 lands. But white, what color is this deck actually? This is actually a Simic deck once I board out my Swords to Plowshares, but I'm bringing in some number of Red Blasts, so it's a rug deck. Mountain versus Caracas versus Basic Forest. All right, I'm going to shave a Caracas. And I don't really need all of these Red Blasts, because it only hits the cantrips in the deck. But hitting the cantrips in the deck is relevant. All right, Locked and loaded. Let's go. Basic Forest was probably worse than Caracas on further consideration. All right, no top or counterbalance, but I do have Force of Will Spell Snare. If he goes too hard turn 1, the Force will stop. If he waits, the Spell Snare will get him. All right, I'm just going to let this resolve. You can see 2 counter spells. Force of Will's gone. Am I dead? Not yet. You board out a Tarmogoyf. Draw 2 anyway. Just how we drew it up. Brainstorm. Gemstone Mine down to 1 counter already. That is the pain of playing a card like this. I'm actually going to end step Brainstorm here because if I hit Counterbalance, that's so freaking good. All right, I'm going to put 2 Volcanic Islands on top. And I'm actually not going to shuffle here because I can predict target myself and name Volcanic Island and draw 2. I'm missing a land drop after Brainstorming. Opponent is in a spot where it's kind of use it or lose it here. Uh-oh. Well, might be using it. Okay, if I predict now, yeah, I'm going to predict myself now. This builds 1 storm for him, but it does let me use my mana for the turn cycle if I don't die immediately. All right, you got me. Go nuts. There's the counterbalance. And we know every card in his hand is a spell because he's missed land drops. Right. LED. LED. Chrome Mox. We've got 1 Burning Wish to rule them all here. Yeah, Burning Wish. And 1 short of killing me with Tendrils. Put black in the pool, though. Oh, yeah. Sick. Yep. The Wish for Infernal Tutor to get Tendrils. And that is actually a sideboard plan. All 4 Infernal Tutors are in the main. So the sideboard out an Infernal Tutor so I can Burning Wish for it to get 1 extra storm. Super slick. Okay. Basic Forest is out. Caracas is back in. Do I want more Pyroblast? And my opponent's ability to sculpt matters a lot. I think I'm going to go -1 Fire Spout, +1 Pyroblast. 3 is a big commitment to Fire Spouts. Okay, I will keep this and pass. I think Meddling Mage names Burning Wish in the blind in this matchup. Is that how we do this? Especially knowing that he's boarded out some number of Infernal Tutor. Though I think I actually want to wait a turn, because you can't duress Meddling Mage. And if I can protect Meddling Mage, Pyroblast Meddling Mage by Hydroblasting the Pyroblast, that's worth the investment. Brainstorm from the opponent. Okay. I can target my opponent with Predict, or myself. I don't know anyone's top of their deck right now. Or he just put 2 cards back with Brainstorm and then didn't shuffle. So what would he put back? Would he hide a tutor there? I'm just trying to think of a 4-of that's in somebody's deck. That's the way you do this. Like, I boarded out all of my bad cards. He's going to have more 4-ofs in his deck than me. I'm going to target him with Predict. And what card would he put 2 down with Brainstorm knowing that he can't shuffle? I'm just going to name Lion's Eye Diamond, even though I don't think that's what's there. But whatever this card is, it will be gone. All right, it was Rite of Flame. I considered naming that, but I didn't want it to be true, is the problem. Which might be me, like chewing on my own butthole. Because I didn't want it to be Rite of Flame, so I didn't name it, even though I thought it was a reasonable name. All right, Meddling Mage is going to name Burning Wish. Here's the Pyroblast that I waited a turn to play around. Okay, Burning Wish has been named. Pass the turn. It's a big turn to not die. And step Brainstorm. Uh-oh. Well, must have an Infernal Tutor line then. Or I was just going to rip off a shitload of goblins and hope I can't beat them. Infernal Tutor it is. With enough mana to add Naws from 19. With a land drop still available. I did snag a Burning Wish from the hand, though. Ooh, Crozing Grip revealed. Yeah, draw a bunch of bad sideboard cards. I mean, this Ad Nauseam still has to be able to win without casting Burning Wish. Or now I found Pyroblast, so I can figure it out. No tutors yet. A bunch of expensive sideboard cards hit. All right, that should do it. Lotus Petal, Rite of Flame, Pyroblast the Meddling Mage, Burning Wish for the win. But look at what opponent had to do to respect the card counterbalance. All these crazy 3-drops. All right, I am dead here. I'll let him have his fun. Rite of Flame, Pyroblast. I am pretty proud of myself for setting up that Meddling Mage and protecting it, but it doesn't matter when my opponent draws 20 cards immediately. They'll figure it out. GG's. On to the next one.
The BoshNRoll channel is brought to you by Tales of Adventure. TOAMagic.com has almost 100,000 unique cards in stock. They offer free track shipping on every order, plus next day or 2-day options when you have an event coming up fast. They offer on-site pickup at major Magic events throughout the US, so you're never scrambling before your tournament. Stop by their booth to buy, sell, or trade at upcoming regional championships, Magic Con, Spotlight Series, and more. I love their selection of individually scanned high-end cards that show you exactly what you're buying. And the best part is saving 5% on every order with promo code BOSH. From Ancestral Recall to Zombie Master, get what you need quickly and in one place at TOAMagic.com. Eternal lives here.
I am on the play in round 3. Now I am a Merfolk gamer, and my hand is quite good. It doesn't hit very hard. I do have Mutavaults in the deck. I don't have Aether Vial. I'll have to actually think pretty hard about whether I'm going to jam Standstill on turn 2. But this is definitely a keep. The Curse Catcher. Here's that boy. Onboard Daze. Ready to go. Interesting. I guess I'm playing the Standstill, though I'm not in phenomenal position to use it. I'm not fetching an Underground Sea because it just doesn't matter game 1. My opponent can't interact with it. I can't cast any black spells. It just doesn't matter in any direction. City of Brass for mana. That helps me if I'm chip-shotting. Alright, opponent said, whatever, bro. Here's a Chrome Mox. Alright, Force of Will and 2 Dazes have to get it done here. Brainstorm, ripping it off. I like the style points for brainstorming over top of the deal 1 damage trigger. I don't think his deck can do anything about that trigger, but it does make me happy when people play with the rules like that. Mutavault rips. Alright, Mutavault. Do I want Aether Vial, or do I want to get moving on dealing damage? I think I'm going to play Adept, Revealing, Rejeri. I am for sure leaving up the Spell Pierce, though. Okay, pass the turn. The temptation is large to get that Aether Vial into play, but gotta live my life here. I'm going to Spell Pierce this Silence, which is kind of fun, because obviously he can pay for it, but also that might be enough mana that he can't do anything afterwards. All right, no love there. Daze. I want the Curse Catcher in play. Like, the Curse Catcher's face up. Opponent knows I could win the fight over that Silence. It might have even just been bait anyway. Okay. Rejeri does pretty cool thing, where whenever you cast a Merfolk, you can tap or untap a permanent. So if I play a Rege this turn, next turn I could play another Rege, untap 1 land, and if I draw a land, I can play Coral Helm Commander basically for free. Gotta map out the clock here. If I hit for 5, it's a 3-turn clock. 5, well, and it develops 2 more, so it's 5, then 7. If it's 5, then 10. Oh, that's actually lethal. All right. I'm going to play the Rege, and then the second Rege gives me lethal next turn. Okay. Force of Will's got to do the work here. And I have Curse Catcher as well. So Force of Will plus Curse Catcher. Opponent's got a lot of mana, though. Stop with that. All right. Force pitching Coral Helm Commander. I just don't have a lot of options here. This game doesn't look good, despite how good my opening hand looked. Petal LED. Yeah, there's so much mana in these Storm decks, and that's kind of their thing. Burning Wish on the stack. Okay, making blue. That means he's going to have to Diminishing Returns, which could refill my hand with interaction. Alright, let's diminish our returns here. Hit 2 Force of Wills. Pretty happy with that. Exiled from my opponent's deck is a bunch of Rite of Flames and an LED. 2 Duress is gone, actually. That could be big. And this is why I fought over the Silence, because now I can still continue to play. And Lord of Atlantis represents lethal next turn. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm actually have lethal with the Mutavault anyway. I have ultra lethal in multiple directions, if I can survive. And I have 2 Force of Wills to get me there. Actually, the Mutavault matters a lot, because that means I can sacrifice Curse Catcher without losing lethal. 3, or because this will be 4. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, I still have 10 without the Curse Catcher. Natty Tendrils will kill me through Force of Will. I'm at 18, and Storm is 9 already. Oh, don't have it. I was just saying stuff. Don't actually do it. Oh, empty the warrens. That's bad news. Okay, this is 20 goblins. How can I overcome 20 goblins? I could Force of Will some of them. Rejiri does do the untap thing. Oh, I have fucking Lord of Atlantis. He has an underground sea. You're dead. I don't give a shit. Resolves. Right. I was trying to figure out if there's any cards in this iteration of Merfolk that give my opponent an island. And the answer is no. Those cards came later, but my opponent has an island all on his own. All right, fetch the Lord of Atlantis, who can also untap a land when I cast it. Who's the Storm deck now? Curse Catcher for free. Untap the land and cast it. Yeah, storming out. Cool. That's what you get for putting an island into play. Yeah, I mean, I could bring in some plagues in case he goes goblins. They're pretty bad otherwise. And most of the cards in my deck are good. I think the worst card in my deck is Coral Helm Commander. The appeal of this guy is that he's just a 4/4 on his own. If your opponent sweeps you up a lot or has pyroclasms or fire spouts or those sort of things, this can stand alone as a threat that can win the game. Believe it or not, that's how we thought about Legacy back then. I guess I'll try 3 plagues on the draw. And it's either the card that wins me the game or it does absolutely nothing in any capacity. And it depends entirely on my opponent's draw and what pieces he can put together. We are having some banter in the chat. He said, "Sticks and stones can break my bones, but your counters can't hurt me." And I reminded him that all his spells resolved that turn, and I still won. Okay. I'm going to keep this. Obviously, if I get force checked, I'm going to fail. But Spell Pierce into Curse Catcher, Standstill, Bridging the Gap is pretty decent. Shuffled the Ponder. Another Adept. I guess I would like to have Curse Catcher in play. I can tax a spell twice this turn. Curse Catcher is only instants and sorceries, though. That is noteworthy. Ooh, somebody's missing a land drop. But I'm also not doing anything. All right, now I can tax 3 spells for a total of 4 mana. And we know my opponent has at least 5 spells in hand and is Brainstorm locked. All right, come on, deck. Land, 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 land. Yeah, not just a land. The Mutavault. Right, I am going to play Adept, revealing Adept. I want the Rejiri to be a surprise. If my opponent thinks he has another turn but doesn't, that could work to my benefit. There's another Brainstorm. Found a land. A fetch land, no less. How lucky. Another Spell Pierce. That doesn't really help me. I can just bash with Mutavault. All right, the one that is newly controlled. Make sure I tap this correctly. All right, stand up the Mutavault without Summoning Sickness. Attack for 5, leave up Spell Pierce. Underground Sea fetched. Down to 12. Ad nauseum dicey already. Opponent has drawn out of the Mana Screw. Duress. All right, this cannot actually make my hand worse. I guess you would take Daze here. That's the only card that matters. Because I can't play both Spell Pierces, but you can't take me off Spell Pierce either. Oh, I could see taking Daze if he's going to try to push now, or taking Standstill if he needs another turn. I'm just going to shuffle my hand around, make it harder for him to take the right card. I already took Daze anyway. Probably means we're going to see a shot here. And Dark Ritual is an instant, which means it can be cast in response to any of my Curse Catcher or Spell Pierce kind of stuff. Ooh, the Lord of Atlantis. Big deal, if true. We saw the Spell Pierce and didn't go for it. I guess I'm just going to keep bonking. If I had drawn a blue source, I would have developed the Standstill, I think. But I actually think rolling the dice on Standstill, finding Force of Will is worse than just having Spell Pierce up. So he did just duress me and didn't see the Sword of Atlantis. If he goes goblins again, I can walk over them. Assuming I find a second blue source in time for that to matter. I have lethal if I draw a blue source for Lord of Atlantis. Okay, passing the turn again. I do have to respect the possibility of Pyroblast. That card is in my opponent's deck. Alright, well, we're all in here. I have to make a non-lethal attack, and my opponent is now dead on board. So there's no more sculpting or bluffing to be done here. It's just whatever you got, it's happening. I'm going to discard Silvergill Adept. I won't be using that card this game. Lotus Petal. Rite of Flame. Worm's Chant. I'll pierce the Chant just to try to soak up some mana. Though I may have just built Storm for him for free, and he just lets it get countered. Alright, yep. I may have just built Storm for him for free. Dark Writ. Do you have a line? You can't Ad Nauseam here. Burning Wish is coming. There's some goblins. Alright, Lord of Atlantis. You're up, big guy. Lord of Atlantis wins here through Pyroblast because my opponent has Lotus Petal for mana. And I actually have 2 turns to solve this. Island off the top. Yeah. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Fish. Ka-chow. Taking a walk. Where are your city of brasses? And if these were not islands, opponent would definitely be dead already. Because you're at 2, and you've cast a bunch of spells. Wow. All right. Lord of Atlantis doing the Lord's work versus a wall of 1/1s 2 games in a row. On to the next one.
This video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, the easiest way to build Magic decks online. Moxfield supports over 30 formats, including Legacy and everything else you'll see on this channel. There's multiple customizations so you can interact with your deck how you want. Views such as text, grid, or stacks, and groupings like type, subtype, color, color identity, even artist. The site offers light mode, dark mode, and so much more. However you want to see your deck, Moxfield can provide it for you. Follow my Moxfield to keep up with the channel and what I'm playing in paper. I'll see you there.
It is round 4. I'm playing Sneak and Show now. Look at this turn 3 Woodfall Primus that also doesn't matter. If this was Grizzlebrand or Emrakul, I would probably consider this hand. But I'm on the draw with no interaction. I know the matchup. The hand is also very weak to Duress, just on its own merits. A lot's been said over the last few years about Atraxa existing, and some people believe that it is Atraxa's fault that Entomb is banned. And, I mean, looking at this Woodfall Primus in my hand, where if this was Grizzlebrand or Atraxa, or any non-embarrassing modern era creature, this hand would be great. But instead, it is a mulligan. Here we go. I keep this, and I don't think I need a Wipe Away in this matchup. Gemstone Mine. Ponder. Now he's playing around Lord of Atlantis. After learning that harsh lesson. Shuffled the Ponder. Ooh, now I have double force, double blue card. I wish I had a Thundering Falls in the deck. That would be so nice here. I also don't know if I've said it in the video yet, but Scalding Tarn and Misty Rainforest were pretty recent developments in Legacy in this tournament. Like in this era in 2010. Those had just come out in Zendikar after nearly a decade of ally color fetches existing. The enemy colors kicked in. That was a big deal. Well, I'll force this Orum's Chant. Petal. LED. Dark Writ. Dark Writ. Alright, what's the final word here? Ad Naus. Double Force. I need to find a land before I'm doing anything. But this deck is much worse at rebuilding than its modern counterpart. Oh, the Primus. Alright, pass the turn. That Sneak and Show fail rate kicking in, though I have survived the send. Uh-oh. What are we fetching for? It actually does have enough to diminishing returns here. If this is exactly Burning Wish. I guess Infernal Tutor works here too. What a rip! This is how you top 8 a Grand Prix. It will cost him one of these temporary things. Interesting to spend the mine rather than spend the pedal. And I'm sure he's doing it right. It is noteworthy. Okay, I have redrawn Force of Will and a bunch of Brainstorms. The main deck empty is in exile. A second Burning Wish went down with the ship there. Okay, 10-step Brainstorm. Can we make something happen here? Oh yeah, we can. Alright. I can hit with Primus and destroy 2 of his 3 lands. And I have a second Primus for the turn after. Okay, so Valk and what goes here? Is it Ponder? And I don't have to shuffle. What would I be looking for otherwise? Alright, I'm just going to put back Valk and then redraw one of them. And then I get to keep all my blue cards and still do everything here. There is one cool trick where opponent could respond to Seething Song with silence, and then I don't get to sneak. Seething Song, sneak attack, and the 50-50, do you lose all your permanents or just 2? And the answer is just 2. Right, destroy Underground Sea. attack for 6. End step, the Primus gets sacrificed, and then it persists back. And then I blow up the Volk as well. And I hope that's enough. I can attack down to 2 next turn and blow up 2 more permanents. Brainstorm's fine. And Nauseum's getting dicey at 13 life. Could also kick an Orm's Chant and knock me out of combat. That's another way to have a little bit of counterplay in the matchup. Fetching down to 12. That means you're at 1 if this game continues. Duress, I mean, sure. Forcing that just builds Storm and reduces my life total. Duress is totally different calculation than Orm's Chant. Like, Orm's Chant, you want to fight in case they wheel, then you can keep fighting. All right, you saw my hand and had enough. Woodfall Primus. Living up. Okay, Spell Pierce is coming in. Fire Spout's interesting because I have valued sweepers in all 3 of the matchups we've played so far versus the Goblin plan, but I'm now a deck that can just beat those guys. And I have Echoing Truth in already. Definitely don't want Wipe Away. It's for sure Spell Pierce, and then I'm thinking about how many Pyroblasts, if any, are coming in. I think I need my payoffs. I need my setup. Seething Song is kind of interesting. Like, that one might be clunky in a way that's not super productive. It does increase your turn 1 hits, but I don't need to hit on turn 1. There are 18 lands in this deck, with 3 of them being Ancient Tomb, and there's 3 Lotus Petals. That's not a ton of mana. Blood Moon does... I mean, there's no basic lands in this deck, but there are Chrome Mox and Lotus Petals. I don't think Blood Moon is where I want to be. Certainly not on the draw. Probably not on the play either, but you know what I mean. It's worth thinking about. I think I'm gonna go 1 Pyroblast. No, I'm not. Fuck it. I'm gonna keep my speed. I think my advantage in this matchup is that I'm also a combo deck, but I have Force of Will. Okay, Force blue card, double Primus. This hand kind of sucks, but it is good against Duress. It also beats an empty line. Brainstorm. That must mean he's close. Or he's playing around Daze or Pyroblast. Because why would you main phase Brainstorm? Are you just like 1 mana short of doing what you want to do? All right, no follow-up play. Come on, deck. All right, I'll take a Bonder. Please and thank you. Bonder. Just looking for mana. Ooh, am I going to get red blasted? I think I'm going to daze this. Yeah, this feels important. Okay, that's fun because I get daze back if I want it. Do I want to wait a turn to Brainstorm again? I think I can. Yes, all right. So daze in my hand. Play the Volk I just picked up. I'm drawing Volk again next turn. I have double Force or Force Daze. I've got options. Opponent just got through his Brainstorm lock. I've got a Brainstorm of my own on top of the deck. Hopefully turn some of these Primacies into Show and Tells. I wonder if he has 2 Pyroblasts in hand. Jamming that off on that Ponder is pretty aggro in a spot where he knows Show and Tells in my deck. All right, Brainstorm. We're going to see the other Pyroblast. I will daze it. This is going to cost you Lotus Petal if you want to get cheeky. As this hits my land drop, either way. Okay, cool. Nice. That was phenomenal. Okay. How am I doing this? Show and Tell is a blue card. I like that. I think I'm going to put Primus and Sneak back on top. Play the Volk. And I have double Force that sets me up into Primusing all his permanents next turn. And then the rest of them the turn after that. And Pyroblast is not interactive with my combo because it's all red cards. Oh wait, shit, I have to fetch. So I don't have the second Primus, but that's okay. I'll put him to no lands, and I have a 5/5 in play. And we'll figure it out from there. Okay, do you have an Orm's Chant for me? I probably would force it. Yeah. This is a fight we're having. Gotta do it. Sneak attack. Once again, opponent will be pretty relieved that it's not Emrakul, though it's also not bad. All right, you're at 10. On a 2-turn clock, you got Lotus Petal for mana, and I still have Force blue card in my hand. Here we go, big rips. Can we see an Emrakul? No, we cannot. Oh, I could Echoing Truth my own Primus and go again. That doesn't matter, but that was available to me. Yeah, it would have attacked for 1 more. Yeah, that doesn't matter. All right, here we go. A Chrome Mox has been developed. Ad Nauseum's off. you have to build 8 Storm with your 6-card hand to Tendrils me. I can beat Goblins straight up with Echoing Truth. Dark Ritual. LED. LED. It chose to put Duress under Chrome Mox, which would have cleared the way, but might need that black mana to do anything. Burning Wish. And I'm just going to force this. There's no reason to get cute here. Let's just shut it down. This is a deterministic GG. All right, another one. I was pretty confident this would be a good matchup for my side. And we've got one left to play.
The BoshNRoll channel is proudly partnered with the Resleevables. In this YouTube series, hosts Patrick Sullivan and Patrick Chapin go set by set through Magic's past, leveraging their decades of experience as Pro Tour players and game designers to analyze the good, the bad, and the ugly of Magic's history. Each episode is a deep dive into the facts, mechanics, cycles, trivia, decks of the time, and historical context of the set. The hosts dig into notable cards of the era and their lasting impact today. Each set gets an award show where the hosts pick their favorite cards for categories such as Best, Worst, and Weirdest. And finally, give a letter grade for the set's overall success. Whether you want a history lesson or a nostalgia hit, The Resleevables has it at youtube.com/theresleevables.
I'm on the play for the final round, which is, to me, the most exciting one. Unfortunately, I have to mulligan this. If this guy's Cradle was any other lane in the deck, this hand would be nuts, but I'm going to mulligan. This matchup is the most exciting to me. Are there lands in this deck? Yeah, there's 21 of them. Okay, just checking. Because not only is this just the emblematic, archetypal, awesome deck of the era, but also this is the actual deck that knocked Bryant out of the top 8 of this actual tournament back in the day. Just a very exciting time to be alive. I'm going to develop the Hierarch because I think better things come from that than holding up Stifle on turn 1. He hasn't sent it on turn 1 yet in this entire league, this entire showcase, and I am not going to stunt my development over the possibility of a turn 1 win. Okay, Wasteland, big if true. Didn't shuffle the Ponder. I'm going to Wasteland, attack for 1, and hold up Stifle. I think this is a good enough play. Trigon Predator. Opponent does have things like Chrome Mox that might want to be in play for a little while, but oh, hello. All right, Trigon Predator suddenly has some food, has something to predate. It's fun that 16 years after this tournament, the Epic Storm still doesn't want to see Stifle or Mindbreak Trap, both of which are cards I've played in this league. Ponder shuffled. Oh, baby. New plan. Trigon Predator is not here to eat Chrome Moxes. It's here to turn into Vengevines. Brainstorm. I miss Trigon Predator. This guy was a huge player in Legacy and Vintage back in these days. All right, let's begin the chain. Dump a Predator and get the first of many Vengevines. Vengevine to my hand. Oh, wow. Now I have Force Blue card. I'm going to pass, and I'm going to hit my opponent with a million Vengevines next turn. That's my plan. I also have blue creatures in the deck. So if my opponent duresses me, he has to decide if he's going to take the Stifle or take the Force. And neither one actually clears the runway. And if I have to cycle Vengevine into a blue creature to pitch to Force, that does slow down my survival chain until I draw another creature. Took the Stifle. 4 cards in hand. Burning Wish. Ooh, is there Graveyard Hate? I don't even know. Is there enchantment removal? What do we got? Thoughtseize. Okay. He's doing it all. Are you going to do it all now or do it all next turn? Because I could just put a bunch of damage into play in response to Thoughtseize. Ooh. That's awkward. I guess you can't back up a City of Brass. So he was about to Thoughtseize, reconsidered, and then ended up passing. So should have 1 more life than he has right now. All right, so I get Vengevine, turn that into Rootwalla, turn that into Rootwalla. Oh, and I drew a Wasteland. Sure. Ooh, I almost cast Vengevine. That's not what I want to do. Rootwalla. 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 Trigger 4 Vengevines. This is good stuff. This is what people are talking about when they say they want survival unbanned. And this is why they're out of their damn mind. Okay, and I'm going to get a Wonder. Put that in my hand. That's Force Blue card now. I'm going to waste the Gemstone Mine. Yeah, okay. And he technically has one more life. Like in real life, he'd be going to 2 here on this attack, not 1. But I don't think that matters because still can't Thoughtseize me and I have Force Blue card. Nice. What a beating. And then I get to bring in 4 Spell Pierces. Wheel of Sun and Moon, not for this matchup. Cool Ancient Tech, though. This is what we did before we had Rest in Peace. Umezawa's Jitte, not for this matchup, not one bit. You can actually bash your way through goblins with Jitte. Like, that's a thing we used to have to do. If they make 10 or 12 goblins, like, Jitte could actually overcome that, depending on your board state. But my way to overcome goblins is Wonder. I'll just fly over their heads. A Trigon Predator does an important thing in this matchup, which is it's a creature for survival and it's blue for force. I for sure want all 4 Spell Pierces in. That's not negotiable. I just have to figure out where they're coming from, where they're going. Wild Mongrel's kind of mid, actually. It's not blue, and we're not having any sort of normal creature combat. I would like to be Vengevining if we're doing anything at all. All right, here we go. Daze and Spell Pierce with Survival. I am going to keep this. It was a few years later in the Epic Storms development, which I'm sure will come up at some point in the future of the series whenever we do it, where the Epic Storm became what was colloquially known as Black Belcher, where it was kind of an all-in turn 1, make it happen or get to step in kind of situation. And we're a little bit before that era now, which is why we haven't seen any turn 1 sends yet. Oh, no land drop from Op. All right, I think I should develop Survival here. It does tap me out of Spell Pierce for a turn, but I have Force and Daze, and opponent just missed a land drop. This will make my life so much better if it's in play. All right, if you can suddenly kill me through Force and Daze after making no play last turn, I accept. Aquamoeba. I'm just going to pass. I'm going to try to get a Vengevine in the graveyard here. Chrome Mox. Maybe I'm supposed to Spell Pierce that. That might have been a blink and you miss it moment. Little mistake. Right, he's playing around Daze. I could start applying pressure this turn because I am going to discard one of these Root Wallas to start the Vengevine chain. And then I can end on the other Root Walla whenever I feel like it. Get the tempo survival plan going here. Shuffled the Ponder. Found a land. Survival, discard Root Walla. I would like to cast it. Orm's Chant does actually stop the Vengevine thing if it can happen. Like if there's a timing window. Like you could respond to the Madness trigger by making me unable to cast spells. Okay. Now I actually have ways to spend all of my mana. I might just go to cleanup and discard Vengevine here. Yeah, that's good enough for me. Like I can cycle 2 Root Wallas out of the deck, or I could play Aquamoeba, discard a Basking Root Walla to Aquamoeba, which will trigger the 2 Vengevines. Lotus Petals here. I'll discard Trigon Predator, get a Vengevine, cycle that into another Vengevine. That's all of those now. If I draw a land, I'll strongly consider playing the Aquamoeba. Oh, a second Daze. What am I attacking for? I'm attacking for 17 this turn. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do here is just attack with Root Walla, discard Vengevine to hand size, and then kill them all at once next turn. As the clock's the same, whether I attack for 17 this turn and then another 17 next turn, or if I do way more than that. Okay, Duress, pretty good. Probably lose the Force here, but I still have double Pierce, double Daze. I could have actually won that turn if I had... No, I've spent all my mana on survival the whole game, right? No, that's not true. Okay. End step, Root Walla. I'm just going to get a bunch of Root Wallas here. And this actually triggers Vengevine in the end step, which works just fine for me. And if he does Orm's Chant in response to the Madness trigger, which didn't happen, then I could just tutor the last Root Walla and then go Aquamoeba, Root Walla, and I still have 2 creatures. There was no reasonable way out of this without Graveyard Hate. Now he has to kick Orm's Chance to get ahead of me. Yeah, he's had enough. I cast 1 spell that game, folks. And technically, you're casting Root Walla through Madness, but I mean, survival of the fittest. Not allowed anymore for good reason. I think we're going to debrief about the matches and stick around. Here comes Bryant.
So yeah, Brian, thanks for doing this with me. I appreciate it. I thought this was a blast, like playing the old list again. Obviously, I didn't do particularly well, but just, reminiscing about the cards and the play patterns was a lot of fun. When you revealed that you were on the Woodfall Primus version of Sneak and Show, I was like, no, please be Progenitus. And then that ended up blowing me out.
That's funny that you were worried about Woodfall Primus instead of Progenitus because I spoke a lot on my side about how Grizzlebrand's not out yet. We're not even close to Atraxa. We have to play these dumbasses like Woodfall Primus. And both of the games, it's like if I have Emrakul, you're just out.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, I have Woodfall Primus, so you get both of the games. I did what I was supposed to do, and you still had 1 or 2 turns to play through it, and it created for interesting back and forth.
Yeah. There was a draw step I had in the second game, I think it was, where if I had hit a mana source, I could have made a win attempt. And I say attempt because I'm sure you saw throughout the video, there were several times where I resolved a Burning Wish, and I was like, all of these cards suck. I don't want any of them. Like Ill-Gotten Gains was never really a reality versus your like Force of Will Stifle decks. And then Diminishing Returns just being a worse Echo of Aeons obviously showed its face a few times.
Right. Yeah. Throughout my side navigating all of the matches with all of my decks, being worried about what you're capable of was so refreshing, actually, because it's like if I get a few chip shots in on you ad nauseum becomes dicey, you actually need a lot to go right to tendrils me out. And all of my decks had like the 4 Pernicious Deed in the control deck. I had 3 main deck Fire Spout in the one deck. I boarded into Engineered Plagues and Merfolk. Like I could beat goblins or just, walk past them with Lord of Atlantis, just stroll
Oh,
over your
man,
your
F that
islands.
card.
Yeah, I mean, it was like compared to the present day where Beseech the Mirror can just win with 4 mana at any point from one card, one way or another, it's like he needs so much to happen here. And Diminishing Returns sucks compared to Echo. Like, there's no gamble. Like, I can't really lose to one card out of your deck from any position. And the things you can do from even 3 or 4 cards swept up by any sweeper, or if my creatures just have flying, I win that game. So it was really interesting seeing how worried I needed to be and realizing the answer is not very.
Yeah, I definitely felt like I was playing less powerful decks, or my deck was less powerful than what a lot of what you were doing, to be honest. Like, so I also think I'm not trying to complain here. I felt like your draws on average were probably a little bit better than mine. I also think I talked about this in my debrief, but I think some of my deck building was bad from back in 2010, where you had like double force, double days, for example, in the Sneak and Show match, which is going to happen. Like you're going to draw double force, but I was just like, man, Brian seems to be drawing better than I am, and I think part of that is my deck is bad. Like it just wasn't constructed well.
Yeah, there were a bunch of games where you were like, turn 1 brainstorm, pass for 2 straight turns without doing anything afterwards. That happened multiple times where you were just brainstorm locked yourself on turn 1, and I don't know if that was just like you hitting you calculated like it's a 60-40 and you just ended up in the 40, or if that was just like, oh shit, there's nothing like gamble that can set me free for 1 mana here, and we've blown it.
So the both brainstorms, I'm pretty sure, were me going like, I can't afford this card to be dazed, and I need to hit a second mana source. That's like all it was. Like I was never even close. It was just like I was like, I need mana, and there's only 3 fetch lands in this deck, which is part of why the deck building was terrible. I'm a brainstorm deck with only 3 fetch lands, and my shuffles are Ponder and Infernal Tutor, which are not easy to cast.
I liked the 3 fetch lands, 3 fetchables deck building. That was
Oh.
really funny. I think it was the Merfolk matchup where you had like 6 lands in play, but I realized you actually couldn't crack 2 of your 3 fetch lands because 2 of
Mhm.
your lands are already there. And I was all the math I was doing, I was like, oh, it doesn't even matter. I was like thinking I was smart. I was like, this hit will turn off 2 of the fetch lands because you won't have enough life anymore. But they were off anyway. You just don't have enough lands to get.
Yeah, I think in hindsight I could have fetched in order to pull those lands out so I didn't draw them. But in my head I was like, what are the odds I draw all of my remaining fetchables? And then it happened, and I was like, well, what if I draw Brainstorm? And that never happened either. And I was just like, okay, Max punished. But that happens. I also drew down to 42 cards in deck that game without ever drawing one of my 11 protection spells, so I felt a little unlucky there.
Yeah, definitely the type and quality of protection. I think twice in this league, you uh, either duressed me into a diminishing returns, which is the duress problem, or I forced your Orm's chant, and then you were on diminishing returns anyway, and then I just got re-upped with a bunch of forces afterwards, and just the quality of interaction, having to play duress over Veil of Summer, and but obviously like Orm's chant and silence were both legal. I think
Mm-hmm.
silence was pretty new at that time as well, and the 4-4 split of duress versus silence when you could have had 8 silences. Do you think 16 years ago Bryant was still stuck in some old ways, or do you think that split was worth it? Like I actually have no idea.
I think 100%. I think if I had more time, like if current Bryant went back and worked on that deck list, I'd probably put in another land. I talked about that. Like I was always a little bit light on mana, but also the protection didn't make a lot of sense. And then a couple years from now, so like 2011, I think it is, Scars of Mirrodin comes out, and you get Mox Opal. And like one regret that I've had for a number of years is I never really gave Mox Opal a fair shake. I always thought that it was only playable in Infinity decks. And I think if I could go back and work on those decks, I'd probably try Mox Opal. But that's, not a reality.
Right. Yeah. Like I'm kind of we've had a couple recent examples of something like that happening as well. Like the Dimir Rescaminator deck was completely illegal for Eternal Weekend, and nobody discovered it until the February after that December Eternal Weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy to think anyone could have just played one of the most broken decks in the modern Legacy era, and nobody had it. And even now, I'm really into the Alurin Omni Acererak deck. And Brady Monroe recently innovated all the formidable speakers out of the deck.
I
So
saw
now
that.
that deck has been completely legal since Stock Up was printed. And it's like, we could have just been doing this. And it's really interesting to think about, even with, even today, with the hive mind and everybody working on it and access to the internet and everything, we're still missing things for at least a little while. And if you think all the way back to 2010, 2011, what were we missing back then? How broken could the Epic Storm have been, or whatever else we had access to?
Yeah. So there was a point in this league, it was in match 2. You were on the countertop deck. And in sideboarding, I was like, oh, I need a board to empty the Warrens here because Brian has Terminus. And then like we start game 2 and I duress you, you reveal Termaglyph. I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot. Terminus doesn't exist yet. But and then I realized like, oh, you have 3 main deck fire spouts. So that was like the reason to do it. I was looking at my old tournament report on the sidelines, trying to figure out like how I did things and why. So like trying to piece that together. But I was like, oh, this is the fire spout deck. Like this is pre-Terminus, which was a little refreshing.
Yeah, this era 2010, a lot of people consider 2011 to be the best golden era of Legacy. So we're kind of just before that, but that space after Innistrad, when we get Delver, Snapcaster Mage, Liliana, Past in Flames, before Avacyn Restored, when we get Terminus and Grizzlebrand,
Mm-hmm.
like that Innistrad and Dark Ascension window, a lot of people think that is the best era. And we were before this even for this one. And just looking at uh, there's no miracles in my top deck. That's pretty cool. Vengevine, brand new technology. Emrakul the Aeon's Torn, brand new technology. Like I played 2 decks that only like existed basically for the first time in this Grand Prix because Rise of the Eldrazi was the new set.
You actually taught me something. So I was like, okay, Brian is going to untap and double Vengevine, Basking Rootwalla, and then you put the Vengevines into play on the end step, and it had never occurred to me in my entire life that you could put Vengevine into play on the end step. Like my mind was blown. I was like, I didn't even know you could do that.
Well, I didn't want to, but I played that whole game on 2 mana. If I
Mm-hmm.
have 3 mana on any turn of that game, you're dead 2 turns earlier, but I have to like play it slow because I'm holding up the 2 spell pierces, and then uh, what I'm thinking is if you Orm's Chant me in response to a Root Wall of Madness trigger, how do I navigate that and get a second round of 2 creatures cast? Like
Mm-hmm.
that is a way you could stop Vengevines from jumping in. But being able to do it in the end step, then untap and also do it in the main phase, you were super dead there no matter what.
Yeah, I realized pretty quickly. But that was awesome. So I think our next era, if you're interested in doing another one, would be the Miracles era. I think that's another golden age of Legacy, or many people would consider that. I'll be honest with you, not a particularly good era for the Epic Storm. I struggled a lot back then trying to figure out like what I should actually be doing. I was working a lot with Ant creators at the time, and they were all like, just play Ant, just play Ant. And I really struggled to find what the Epic Storm should do because I was taking too much advice from them. They're like, oh, just cut all your Chrome Moxes. But when I did that, my deck never worked, which was a problem. So I think
Right.
the next one might go worse for me than this one did.
Yeah, we'll see. If that's the era we're doing next, that was the Star City Games heyday, where every Sunday we were watching Legacy coverage. Every Sunday, top level Magic grinders, your Jerry Thompsons and your Brad Nelsons and stuff, had a reason to be playing Legacy and working on the format. Like, that's an exciting time. I think, I mean, Top Miracles is fucking rancid, and that I don't know that that format was good, but there's certainly a lot of great memories and time, and I was very active during that time, so I'll be able to play my side for sure.
I have a lot of fond memories of like watching Riptide Laboratory,
Yeah,
bouncing Vendilion clicks and stuff like that, and people complaining. I think I'm not sure when True Name Nemesis released. It might have been like 2013, but people being like, "I can't believe this card is legal. This should be banned. How long are they going to allow this?" Meanwhile, it's like turn 12. True Name is wearing a Batter Skull and a Sword of Fire Ice.
yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to that. But this era was cool because I've been playing a lot of pre-modern lately on my channel, and this was different than pre-modern, but relatively speaking, going from 2016 to 2010, that's the better half of 20 years going back to this era. And you have to go back another 10 years to hit the pre-modern pool, but the relative power level of what we're doing versus what we did today, it gave me the same vibes as pre-modern.
That's sweet.
All right, you got anything else? Or I guess, I mean, this is a series you've been contracted to play, and as long as our schedules line up, I'm happy to keep showing up as your opponent.
Yeah, so the plan from the people paying for this is they want to do 5. So the next one will be Top Miracle era, and then so forth and so forth. If you want to look at theepicstorm.com/history, I have it broken down into eras of the Epic Storm. We're going to roughly stay to that. But that is the game plan, or at least it is on my side. I don't know. I had a lot of fun today, despite not doing particularly well. It was fun to scroll down memory lane. I wish that you would have picked a not blue deck at some point, but oh well.
I did consider Brad Nelson did also top 8 this Grand Prix. I mean, this was the famous Wesco Czech Grand Prix
Yes, it was.
where
He was 9th.
for those who yeah, for those who don't know, Drew Levin defeated Craig Wesco, playing for the same Drew Levin who is now famous on Twitter for being League of Legends support. He beat Craig Wesco in the last round to make top 8. And he was basically like, yes, I bet my friends at 100 to 1 that I would top 8 this event. And Craig was like, Judge, he was betting on a Magic tournament. And then Drew Levitt got disqualified, and Brad Nelson snuck in 8th place because Drew Levitt got disqualified. Brad had already taken his deck apart and given it back to the vendors he borrowed it from, and he was like sprinting through the hall when they called his name to get a legacy deck built again. But yeah, sidebar, Brad did have a non-blue deck that I considered playing, but I was just really excited about all the other decks.
Yeah, no
Is
worries.
what it is.
I did look at it. There was also a really sweet like Doomsday deck called Ugly Duckling that I was looking at.
I saw
like,
that.
I
Yeah.
was like, this one might be up Brian's alley, but I wasn't sure what you were going to pick.
No, I looked at that and immediately dismissed it as I'm not going to figure that shit out. I gotta play 5 decks from 16 years ago tomorrow against somebody who's playing their main. So it's like I'm not getting super weird with it. I'm going to play decks that make sense to me. I actually did play Bug Standstill in that tournament, so I did get to play my deck from that tournament in our set today, even though it wasn't exactly the list.
So I believe it was Paulo Vitor Dama de Rosa played Bug Landstill in that event. And a local to me, who was just like a small child at the time, played Goblins with Leyline of the Void in it. And he boarded in Leylines versus Paulo. And then Paulo wrote a tournament report where he made fun of this local kid to me for bringing in Leyline of the Void versus Bug Landstill, about how bad you must be. And like, because it shuts off like Ghastly Demise and stuff. But obviously you shouldn't do that, but this kid was so heartbroken that Paulo just like tore him apart.
Yeah, it's tough on the creator side. I mean, you and I record videos all day, and if we see someone just like throwing it into the sun, we have to be like, okay, that's an interesting decision. I wonder what that means for them, like trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. And yeah, not teeing off on a little kid who sideboarded Rug against you is probably a growth area that I don't think Paulo today would do as he did 16 years ago.
Yeah, but also like things were a little rougher back then. People were a little more blunt and honest than they are today.
Yeah, Paulo also from that era, since we're telling stories, this was when Burton Cheney was just starting to come up and Lorwyn era fairies standard. And Burton Cheney had written a tournament report about how he boards out like Thoughtseize or something in a certain matchup. And Paulo was in America visiting and just like among friends, he was like, can you believe this fucking idiot? Like Thoughtseize Bitter Blossom is the reason for the deck. I would never cut my Thoughtseizes in my entire life. How is this idiot winning anything? And it turned out Burton Cheney was like in the group sitting with him and he had no idea that it was him. But also he was fucking cheating. So that's how he was winning with bad sideboard plans.
Yeah.
So Paulo, right again. That's my goat.
Yeah, he's definitely the best in my opinion. But
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think we're running out of time. So Brian, thank you again for doing this, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, me too.